The studio lights blaze down on the set of The View, the audience buzzing with anticipation as the hosts settle into their seats, their faces a mix of excitement and tension. Megyn Kelly, a guest co-host for the day, sits with a steely glint in her eye, her posture radiating confidence as she prepares to steer the conversation toward a topic that's been dominating headlines for weeks: Meghan Markle's latest public moves. The crowd's energy is electric, sensing a storm brewing, as the regular hosts of Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, and Sarah Haynes exchange wary glances, knowing Meghan's reputation for pulling no punches. The show kicks off with light banter, but it's clear Meghan is biding her time, waiting for the perfect moment to dive into the controversy. As the segment shifts to pop culture, Whoopi introduces a clip of Meghan's recent interview, where she discussed her new charity initiative and her ongoing struggles with public scrutiny. The clip ends, and Meghan leans forward, her voice sharp yet measured, cutting through the room like a knife. "Let's be real here," she begins. "Meghan Markle's narrative is getting old. She's built a brand on playing the victim, and I think people are starting to see through it." The audience gasps, a mix of cheers and murmurs rippling through the crowd, as Joy's eyebrows shoot up, her pen tapping the table in agitation. Sunny, ever the lawyer, jumps in, her tone calm but firm, defending Meghan's right to speak her truth, citing the relentless media attacks she's faced since joining the royal family. Meghan doesn't flinch, her smile tight as she counters, "Sunny, with all due respect, Meghan's not some innocent bystander. She's a calculated player who's turned every grievance into a paycheck." The audience erupts, some clapping, others booing, as Whoopi tries to steer the conversation back to neutral ground. But Meghan's not done. She launches into a detailed critique, pulling up examples from Meghan's past interviews, her Netflix deal, and her carefully curated public image. "This is someone who's mastered the art of deflection," Meghan says, her voice rising, "and it's time we stopped buying the sob story." Joy, never one to stay quiet, fires back, accusing Meghan of being overly harsh, her words dripping with sarcasm as she calls out what she sees as Meghan's bias. The clash is palpable, the hosts' voices overlapping as the debate spirals, each point sharper than the last. Meghan holds her ground, citing Meghan's decision to step back from royal duties as a calculated move to maximize her brand, not a desperate escape from pressure. "She wants freedom? Fine," Meghan says. "But don't cry about the consequences when you've monetized every step." Sarah, trying to play peacemaker, suggests there's room for empathy, but Meghan shakes her head, her eyes locked on the audience. "Empathy for what? A woman who's turned her life into a reality show while claiming she wants privacy?" The crowd roars, split down the middle, as the tension threatens to boil over. Whoopi, sensing the segment spiraling, calls for a commercial break, but not before Meghan lands one last jab. "Meghan's not a victim, she's a strategist, and a good one at that." The audience is on its feet, some cheering, some shouting, as the cameras cut away, leaving the hosts visibly rattled. Backstage, producers scramble to manage the fallout, knowing this moment will dominate social media for days. The debate has only just begun, and Meghan's unrelenting stance has set the stage for a firestorm of reactions, both on the show and beyond, as viewers at home take to X to weigh in, some praising her candor, others decrying her as cruel. The clash, raw and unfiltered, has exposed the deep divide in how Meghan Markle is perceived, and Megyn Kelly has just thrown gasoline on the fire. The segment may be over, but the conversation is far from finished, with every word dissected and debated in real time across the internet. Meghan's poised, unapologetic delivery has ensured that this moment will be replayed, retweeted, and argued over for weeks, as the world watches to see how Meghan might respond to this public takedown. The hosts regroup during the break, their voices hushed but intense, knowing the next segment will only escalate the drama. Meghan, unfazed, sips her water, her mind already on the next point she'll drive home when the cameras roll again. The show returns from the break, and the atmosphere in the studio is charged, the audience still buzzing from the fiery exchange before the commercial. Whoopi, ever the moderator, tries to shift gears, introducing a lighter topic, but the crowd's restless energy pulls the conversation back to Meghan Markle. as if the room itself demands resolution. Megyn Kelly, her expression cool but determined, seizes the moment, doubling down on her earlier points with a precision that leaves no room for ambiguity. "Let's talk facts," she says, her voice cutting through the chatter. Meghan's been given every opportunity to reshape her narrative, but she chooses the same script every time: oppressed, misunderstood, mistreated. She lists off Meghan's high-profile projects: her book deal, her podcast, her Oprah interview, while arguing they're less about empowerment and more about capitalizing on controversy. Sunny Hostin pushes back hard, her legal mind dissecting Meghan's argument with surgical precision, pointing out the systemic challenges Meghan faced as a biracial woman in the royal family. "You're dismissing her lived experience, Megyn," Sunny says, her voice steady but laced with frustration, "and that's dangerous." The audience claps for Sunny, but Megyn doesn't waver, her response swift and biting. "I'm not dismissing her experience, I'm questioning her motives." She paints a picture of Meghan as a savvy operator, someone who's turned every hardship into a headline, every slight into a storyline. Joy Behar, unable to stay silent, jumps in with her trademark wit, accusing Megyn of cherry-picking facts to fit her narrative, her words sparking laughter and cheers from one side of the audience. "You're acting like Meghan's the only one who's ever cashed in on fame," Joy quips. "Pot, meet kettle." Meghan's eyes narrow, but her smile doesn't falter as she fires back. "Joy, I've never claimed to be a saint, but I don't hide behind victimhood to sell my story." The exchange is a verbal fencing match, each parry and thrust drawing gasps from the crowd, as the hosts' personalities collide in a spectacle of wit and conviction. Sarah Haynes tries to bridge the gap, suggesting that both sides have valid points, but her words are drowned out by the escalating debate. Megyn pulls up a specific moment from Meghan's Oprah interview, where she spoke about mental health struggles, and questions its timing, suggesting it was strategically deployed to garner sympathy. "It's not about denying her pain," Megyn says, "it's about asking why every pain point becomes a press release." The audience is split, some nodding in agreement, others shaking their heads in disapproval, as the conversation veers into deeper territory: race, privilege, and the media's role in shaping public perception. Whoopi, usually the voice of reason, finally snaps, her voice booming as she demands respect for Meghan's humanity. "She's a person, not a punching bag," Whoopi says, her words silencing the room for a moment. But Megyn, undeterred, responds with a calm that feels almost surgical, arguing that Meghan's public persona invites scrutiny by design. "If you step into the spotlight, you don't get to dictate the terms of the critique," she says, her words landing like a gavel. The audience erupts again, the divide growing sharper, as social media lights up with clips of the exchange, hashtags like #Megyn vs Meghan trending within minutes. Backstage, the producers are in a frenzy, knowing this episode will be a ratings goldmine but also a lightning rod for controversy. The debate has exposed not just differing views on Meghan but broader questions about accountability, privilege, and the cost of fame. Meghan's unrelenting focus keeps the pressure on, her every word a calculated move to challenge Meghan's narrative while defending her own. As the segment nears its end, Whoopi tries to wrap things up, but the audience's energy makes it clear they're hungry for more. Megyn, sensing her moment, delivers a final point: "Meghan's story sells because we keep buying it, but maybe it's time we demand something more authentic." The crowd's reaction is deafening, a mix of cheers and jeers, as the cameras pan across the host's faces, as some fuming, some contemplative, all aware that this clash has changed the conversation around Meghan Markle forever. As the third segment of The View begins, the studio feels like a pressure cooker, the audience hanging on every word as the Meghan Markle debate refuses to die down. Megyn Kelly, her demeanor unshaken, leans into the controversy with a relentlessness that's both captivating and polarizing. She shifts her argument to Meghan's impact on the royal family, accusing her of destabilizing an institution already struggling to modernize. "Meghan didn't just leave the royals," Megyn says, her voice steady but laced with disdain. "She weaponized her departure to paint them as the villains in her story." She cites specific claims from Meghan's interviews and allegations of racism, neglect, and rigidity, arguing they were strategically vague, designed to inflame without being disprovable. Sunny Hostin, her patience visibly thinning, counters with a passionate defense, pointing out the royal family's history of exclusion and the unprecedented scrutiny Meghan faced as the first biracial duchess. "You're blaming her for speaking out when silence would have crushed her," Sunny says, her voice rising, earning a wave of applause from the audience. Meghan, unfazed, pivots to Meghan's post-royal career, questioning the authenticity of her philanthropy and suggesting her charity work is more about optics than impact. "It's convenient how every cause she champions comes with a camera crew," Meghan quips, her words sharp enough to cut glass. Joy Behar, her sarcasm in full force, accuses Meghan of hypocrisy, pointing out her own lucrative media career built on controversy. "You're not exactly Mother Teresa yourself, Meghan," Joy says, her delivery sparking laughter and cheers. The audience is a sea of conflicting emotions, some chanting Meghan's name, others shouting support for Meghan, as the debate takes on a life of its own. Sarah Haynes, still trying to find middle ground, suggests that Meghan's actions reflect a woman navigating an impossible situation, but Meghan shakes her head, her voice cutting through the noise. "Impossible? She had a platform most people dream of, and she used it to play the martyr," Meghan says, her words igniting another round of gasps and cheers. Whoopi, visibly exasperated, tries to steer the conversation toward broader issues of media bias, but Meghan keeps the focus laser-sharp on Meghan, pulling up a timeline of her public appearances to argue she's orchestrated a campaign of self-promotion disguised as vulnerability. The back-and-forth grows heated, with Sunny accusing Meghan of ignoring the racial undertones of the criticism Meghan faces, while Meghan insists she's judging Meghan's actions, not her identity. "This isn't about race, it's about accountability," Meghan says, her voice firm, though the audience's reaction suggests not everyone agrees. Social media is ablaze, with ex-users posting clips of the exchange, some calling Meghan a truth-teller, others labeling her a bully. The producers, watching the ratings soar, know they've struck gold, but the tension on set is palpable, the hosts' personal beliefs clashing with their roles as entertainers. Meghan, sensing the moment's weight, leans forward, her eyes scanning the audience as she delivers a pointed question. "Why do we keep giving Meghan a pass when she's playing the same game as everyone else in Hollywood?" The question hangs in the air, unanswered, as Whoopi calls for another break, her voice strained but authoritative. The audience is on edge, their reactions a mix of awe and outrage, as the debate exposes not just Meghan's polarizing presence but the deeper fault lines in how we judge public figures. Meghan's performance, calculated and commanding, has turned the segment into a cultural flashpoint, with every word fueling the firestorm online. As the cameras cut away, the hosts exchange tense glances, knowing the final segment will demand they either reconcile or double down. Meghan, calm as ever, adjusts her notes, ready to keep pushing, her mission clear, to challenge Meghan Markle's narrative and let the world decide who's right. The final segment of The View crackles with unresolved tension, the audience restless as the Meghan Markle debate reaches its climax. Megyn Kelly, her composure unshaken, takes the reins once more, her voice a blend of conviction and challenge as she addresses the audience directly. "We've spent a lot of time talking about Meghan Markle today," she says, "but the real question is, why are we so obsessed with her story?" She argues that Meghan's ability to dominate headlines stems from a carefully crafted persona, one that thrives on sympathy while sidestepping accountability. "She's not just a celebrity, she's a phenomenon we've all bought into," Meghan says, her words sparking murmurs of agreement and dissent. Sunny Hostin, her frustration now barely contained, fires back, accusing Meghan of reducing Meghan's complex journey to a caricature. "You're ignoring the human cost of this scrutiny," Sunny says, her voice thick with emotion, "and that's what makes this so unfair." The audience claps, but Meghan counters swiftly, pointing out that Meghan's choices are her media deals, her public foods invite the scrutiny she claims to despise. "You can't have it both ways," Meghan says, "you don't get to be a private citizen and a global brand at the same time." Joy Behar, her wit sharper than ever, jumps in, accusing Meghan of projecting her own media savvy onto Meghan. "You're acting like you've never played the game, Meghan," Joy says, her words drawing laughter and applause. The exchange is a verbal sparring match, each host digging in, their arguments reflecting not just their views on Meghan but their own philosophies on fame and responsibility. Sarah Haynes, still searching for a middle path, suggests that Meghan's story resonates because it reflects universal struggle's identity, belonging, resiliency. But Meghan shakes her head, her voice cutting through. Resilience doesn't mean rewriting history to suit your narrative, she says, citing Meghan's shifting accounts of her royal experience as evidence of manipulation. Whoopi, now visibly fed up, takes the floor, her voice commanding as she calls for a perspective. "We're not here to tear anyone down," she says, "but to understand why these stories matter." Yet Meghan, unrelenting, argues that understanding starts with questioning Meghan's motives, not just her feelings. The audience is a powder keg, their reactions a mix of cheers, boos, and shouted opinions, as the debate transcends Meghan to touch on broader themes of truth, privilege, and public perception. Social media is in overdrive, with ex-posts dissecting every moment, some hailing Meghan's fearlessness, others slamming her as heartless. The producers, watching the chaos unfold, know this episode will be a landmark, its clips destined to go viral. As the show nears its close, Meghan delivers a final, searing point. Meghan Markle's story isn't about one woman, it's about a culture that rewards drama over substance, and we're all complicit. The audience erupts, the host faces a mix of exhaustion and adrenaline, as Whoopi wraps the show with a call for civility that feels almost futile. The cameras stop rolling, but the energy lingers, the studio buzzing as the hosts decompress, their words still echoing. Meghan, unfazed, gathers her notes, her mission accomplished as she's sparked a conversation that will outlast the broadcast, forcing viewers to confront their own biases about Meghan and the media machine that surrounds her. The fallout is immediate, with X lighting up with reactions, from think pieces to memes, as the world grapples with Meghan's takedown and what it means for Meghan Markle's place in the public eye. The debate, raw and unfiltered, has left an indelible mark, a testament to the power of words in shaping how we see the world.